I don't know if this is satire or not, but bad timing. Let's wait for Barney to go live.
Yeah, I just turn on.
Yeah, and then let's not raid him. That would be funny.
That would be kind of funny. That would be kind of funny.
I think that would be.
That would be a good prank.
Untitled broadcast. Oh, no, there it is. Raid v Barney.
Saw it.
Alright, see you fellas. Thanks for watching.
That'd be the perfect timing. I'm lap 3. Nah, not perfect timing. Definitely not perfect timing. Alright.
Kinda cracked the lap 2.
Yeah, lap 2 is just easier. I don't know what it is. This lap 1's pretty good though.
Oh.
Why you speak fast on XQC? I'm sorry, but I can't do anything about it. I've tried actually, but my brain just wants to speak fast, so that's just how it is. ADHD go brr.
I'll watch your PR real quick and then.
Good idea.
Oh, you're actually cracked.
Yeah, now I'll start hitting shortcuts again. Did your PR recently? I gotten 52.876 like 2 days ago.
Cured it twice in like an hour.
Yeah, I did another 0.8 as well after you left, but it wasn't PB.
It's funny how you can grind for like a week to try and get it, and then just get 3 in like 2 hours.
Yeah, that was pretty weird.
Zach is still on Valorant.
He's addicted.
Let's fucking go. I'm gonna have to play some more tonight. Not too much more, but at some point.
I think you're good. How about you uninstall install CS instead?
That's what I reckon you should.
In CS, you only have your teammates yell at you, not the opponent ulting. Oh my god, that was interesting.
Yeah. That was not a run anyway, though.
Yeah, that lap 3 though.
Yeah, it might have been good. I'm not sure. I felt like that was a weird lap.
Yeah, it was.
Tell. What ranks are you in CS? So that's a good question. We're gonna talk about that. It's
Well,
not great.
Me personally, whatever the default Faceit rank is, I'm that.
Yeah.
Wait, have I played a Faceit game with you guys yet? I did
you
play
played, you
one.
played a few, I think.
A few.
Yeah, you played at least. I'm pretty sure you played at least 2.
At least 2.
Yeah. Well, that's plural. That's plural. They categorize that as a few.
This is true. This is true.
I know it's at least 2. It could be more. But yeah, I'm literally just after playing a lot, I was able to just return back to the default Faceit rank, so I'm not too hot in the games. So you're same rank as me, Xander.
Let's fucking go. What 20? You should see if there's a way to bring your shoulders down and nice and relaxed.
True.
Actually, though, like I'm serious.
Yeah, I mean,
it
it's probably right,
feels.
but
Yeah. Cause like I don't know. I think in the end I did change a lot of shit and mess around with a lot of shit that was probably unnecessary. But I think there's a lot of merit to looking into the shit I looked into, to be honest, especially when it's relating to posture, right? Because that just goes into actual health.
yeah.
Because just from like raising myself up a little bit, even though I only just started experimenting with it, and like the whole thing where I'm like making sure my forearm isn't tilting on the desk, like that's already like made it feel a lot easier to aim.
Yeah, you were pretty far below the default Faceit rank, Fred. For sure, you're like down to the depths of level 2.
The depths, the dark, dank depths.
Do you still play P? I see. Yeah, we haven't been playing. It's almost been 2 months since we played. It's hard to get people.
Yeah.
People are just doing other things. The in-game ranks are kind of worthless, especially because of the update. I think they've always sort of been scuffed. Because you can just get carried to a rank. I think I had like 20 hours on the game and I got put in Gold Nova 2, 3 or 4, something like that. They did some changes to rank, like people played and got different ranks after some update. I don't know the specifics of it. Yeah, but it was only because I got carried by my friends who had already played the game. I'm pretty sure Barney was the same. He got put in Gold Nova somewhere. And like none of us were Gold Nova skill level. Like we just got carried by friends.
Yeah.
Gold Nova? Is that just the single star?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of just got. I feel like I was pretty quickly like decent, but then I just didn't get any better like after that. Which in all fairness, obviously I didn't really play, but you guys are so much better now.
Never too late. But I mean,
It is not, but
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to lose interest in Valorant probably to really try hard the game. I really play it a lot.
I will play Valorant with you and give you such a bad experience you never want to play it again. Share that with Lloyd.
Oh my god, sabotaging. I just say, by the way, like, I still like CS:GO, and I think it's really easy to like compare the two because they both have the same like gunfight style. But ultimately, I think it's better to like probably not compare them because I know they have the same like gunplay, but ultimately I think they are like completely different games, right? Because as soon as you introduce like the Overwatch elements of just like, you know, ability tracking and ults and stuff, I think it becomes like a whole different game in terms of strategy. Which makes me just consider it like a different thing entirely. But I think it's really easy to like look at the two and compare them. I think ultimately though it makes it really easy to like dislike one more if you like view it as like a worse version of CS:GO.
That's exactly what I like about CS2 though. But like, you can keep track of enemies' utility and how they like to play throughout the rounds, and then you can keep track of your own utility and maybe do something nice with it. But the problem is that very rarely did you have 5 people who like all understand how it executes your work out to the side.
Yeah.
Like, people know like 1 or 2 smokes, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely are similarities, don't get me wrong, but I kind of see it as like, when MK came out, I think a lot of people compared it to Morikawa and quit because of it. Because it was like, oh, this one element is like so much different, it's so much worse. But I think just like viewing it as like a completely different game in itself and not comparing the two makes it a lot more like tolerable.
God damn.
That was not. That lap 3 was looking kind of sexy though. That was maybe doable. Despite the shit
Dude,
lap 2.
for some reason I felt like I was breathing really loud and I turned my mic sensitivity up before, so I was like holding my breath for like the latter fucking like 40 seconds of that run or some bullshit.
I didn't hear anything.
Not 40 or 30 seconds.
I didn't hear anything, so.
Whew. Yeah, I mean, in the end, like, since the chat's talking about it a bit, like, I still like CS:GO, right? I think I just prefer Valorant because of how dynamic it is with some of the abilities. You know, like, Jet, like, flying around with her knives, right? Like Rays with fucking like satchel jumps and shit. Like that kind of stuff. like I just really like. CS:GO is like a lot more vanilla, which I don't think is a bad thing. I
Yeah,
actually
you like Mickey Mouse
know a
games.
lot.
It's okay.
True. I like Mickey Mouse games. I like CS:GO a lot. I obviously am just not super interested in it right now, and I just prefer Valorant. But I can definitely see myself playing more. Especially, I mean, if I keep playing Valorant and get like super good at Valorant, I'm sure I'll be more interested in playing other shooters at some point too. Because like once you've gotten aim that's good enough in one game, like as long as your raw aim mouse control is like gotten a lot better, then obviously it'll translate over to other games too and make those more accessible for you.
You do be cutting.
I do be cutting. Or rather not cutting, I'm landing right in the... out over there somewhere. Oh, just not it.
Brand said can't see us tomorrow. Tomorrow is CS day.
Oh, CS Day, crazy. That'll be the
you're-
first CS game in like 2 months.
You actually can't.
Huh?
You actually can't play. I just said you are playing without actually.
Oh. Well, yeah, I probably could play it at some point tomorrow.
Awesome. Soup probably can. Brand said he can. Where's Red? We still gotta play through all the maps with Red.
True. It's been like 2 years since done that. Red drop the can.
Holy shit, that was
Always trust Red.
fast.
Always trust Red.
It's a real one.
Taking a break from his math PhD to just put some 3Q on newbies real quick.
If there's one word to describe me, it's reliable.
That is
Yeah.
just not true at all, but... Hey Red, what's up, man? Oh, gone for 3 years.
And then it's just like, oh, sorry, I was making some curry.
Yeah, making curry for 2 years, guys, sorry.
Oh. Alright, last attempt that I'm watching.
Last step I'm watching, alright, I'll make it a good 52.8 seconds for you.
Oh, I'm reading chat. Hello. What is your question?
I'll get now.
GG.
Yeah, GG.
Gian.
Oh my god, good night. Sleep well. god. Oh my fucking god. Ow.
You good, bro?
Trying to adjust.
Thank you for the good luck, and yeah, I'm not going for 52.7. I'm not good enough for that yet. That's not currently a realistic goal. But maybe. We'll see though, but I have to improve the game first.
You can do it.
I'm working on it.
I was indeed talking about that. Is that like... Oh, here we go. How come it can't be unlocked again? I think a lot of that has to do with interest, probably, right? Motivation to play the game. Also free time as well, right? Like just dedicate, like I think all those things in turn, they make people dedicate themselves to the game less. In my personal experience, and I plan to bring this shit up every time, I have like health issues that make it difficult for me to even want to commit to anything, to be honest. And I like, you know, it makes it like very difficult. It's like issues in my head, like cognitive abilities that make my brain kind of not work properly. So kind of sucks. But you know, some days are epic, some days are not. So they're like both in terms of like actual like ability. You know, it's like maybe once every month right now where I'm feeling like super good. And like those days, I'm sure I could still be like expert, but usually, obviously, I'm a little bit worse. Sometimes a lot worse if I'm feeling really bad. And of course, like, you know, the commitment, not wanting to commit, both because like I'm more interested in like other things, or because, you know, when it comes to commitment, like the idea of like, oh well, if my health issues come up again when I'm committing myself to it, then I have to stop. It, you know, makes me not want to do shit. That's just like, you know, my personal experience. But I think this kind of applies to everyone. Like, lack of interest, or any particular reason why they can't, like, commit themselves to a game. Because realistically, right, like, if you're playing a game 24/7, you're always going to be, like, better than you are playing it, like, less consistently. Assuming you're not, like, tilted or something, right? I think, like, a lot more, like, situations or, like, solutions, so to say, that you have to have for different problems and races or whatever else. They're gonna be like in your short-term memory, right? You're gonna be able to recall the answer to things a lot more consistently if you're playing a lot, right? But if you're not playing as often, it's gonna take you longer to come to conclusions when it comes to like decisions and races and stuff, right? At least like the non-obvious stuff. Maybe you'll make more wrong decisions. And of course, like being more, you know, practiced physically is gonna help as well, right? You'll make less mechanical errors if you're playing a lot. Ultimately, I think if you look at like pretty much every top player really at this point, I think they've had periods where they've lost interest. Casperino, I feel like only just recently like started to have a bit of that. You know, Leops had other shit he had to do, and he became less interested for a while. Jeff hasn't played for ages. Frozen's now gone. I mean, he obviously got banned, but yeah. I think Barney, Fox, and I have all had little breaks. Faisal has too, right? I think this happens to just about everyone. Eventually, you will not have the same passion for the game that you always had, and it's gonna make you play less, be less interested, improve at a slower rate, and I think like holding your like peak is going to be like very difficult throughout all of that, right? Especially if there are other things coming into the equation, like, you know, just outright being busy or having other issues that stop you from playing or whatever, right? That's why I would. I mean, maybe getting older does make it harder. I don't know, but I, if we're being like completely serious, I wouldn't really say there's like a legitimate disadvantage, like an actual like really severe disadvantage, until you're like way older. I'm talking like probably in your 40s. But if you like take really good care of your body, then maybe it wouldn't even matter then. I mean, yeah, it's very likely. If a lot of people are playing a game, then naturally it's going to be pushed further. I think, like, realistically, there are so many different parts, like different, you know, puzzle pieces of like every single game, like so many different things to improve at. And so many like different strategies that like could be made, and so many different things that can work now that we wouldn't before because of meta shifts, right? Like, so it's like kind of like infinitely like changing and shifting. I feel like there's always going to be stuff to learn, and nobody's ever going to be perfect, right? It's like if there's always going to be improvement, if nobody, you know, if you're not way better than everyone else, like you have to stay on top of things. Like you have to like do a lot to stay on top of things, rather. And in the end, like the sad truth of it is that like even if you are playing like 24/7, who knows if you're spending that time like in the right way. Like if somebody figures something out, you know, if they really got the secret and they just happen to like spend their time better than you did, or figure something out that you didn't, then you're not gonna be better than them, like really, right? Like if they have those advantages, I feel like at that point, like I don't know, I feel like you really have to be playing a lot and thinking a lot and dedicating yourself completely to have like a shot at staying on top, right? And even then it's just a shot. Especially when you take into account that like all of your teammates have to be doing it too. That's in the context of like team games, right? Like CS. Yeah, I would separate Marco away from CS. Just because, like, well, first of all, there's way less people playing CS, right? I mean, what?
Yeah, all the way around, bro.
There's way less people playing Mario Kart compared to CS. So naturally, the game is going to be pushed at like a slower rate. And Lounge has definitely helped with like people improving, but I think we are playing a much different game to what we were playing years ago. Like the way that you play in Lounge to win is like so much different than the way you play in like actual good rooms. Like back in the day when there was like a higher density of like top players, like you had to play in this very particular way, which I still don't believe people really understand, to be honest. Like I think some people get it, but I don't think like even like top players, I don't really think have like truly gotten there, and it's kind of understandable, right? Because like there's no place to practice. Like you don't play like rooms full of like the best players. Like there's only like lounge where a lot of it is just like noob farming, right? Quote unquote noob farming. Like it's top players who are significantly better than the rest of the room generally, and they have to play in a way that kind of gets value, like free value, from the other players not being as good in certain areas. People will watch these top players doing that, think that's how you're supposed to play the game, and then everyone will play in this way. So I think like people are essentially like learning the game slightly wrong, and I think that small difference I think makes a big impact when everyone is like around the same level. So when you have like a top room, right? And that's why maybe some people, despite improving a lot in certain areas and copying top players, why they might be struggling to like actually see results consistently in rooms that they play in, right? Because like whilst they're improving a lot, they're not improving at the things that actually result in consistent like winning, right? Like they're playing as if they're playing versus players that are like way worse than them, but like they're not, because they're not at the level of a top player, right? So it's a big fucking mess. It is a shame, but I think it's gonna take a long time, I think, for Mario Kart Wii to like I think like we will continue to get a lot better at surface level shit. Not in Wars, to clarify. In Wars, I think the War meta will continue to be pushed like really, really far. But in Mogi and tournaments and stuff like that, I think it's going to take a while before like we actually get like better at like the part that you know, consistently winning part, like for people to like really figure that part out more. I think we'll continue to get better at like the more surface level things for a long time, until the people who aren't as good become a lot better, and then maybe some of the top players like die out, like most of them. And at that point, people will probably learn more of that shit. At the peak of its competition, a lot of people would have different opinions, I think. Because, like, when it comes down to it, right, like, there was a lot of competition on Wi-Fi, but people sucked, right? And in, like, okay, like, if, like I was saying about Wars, like, Wars continuing to be, like, better and better and better. If we look at Wars, like, technically, Wars are like at peak competition, like as of like relatively recently, like, you know, when JX is playing, like I think like JXMW is probably like the highest level of War competition there has been, just because, you know, naturally people improve as time goes on. So I would probably call that like the peak, right? Because that was like, I think most people consider that to be like the top two teams kind of facing off against each other. But in terms of like Mogi or tournaments, I think it's really hard to say, because we had like, I want to say it was around like maybe like 2017, probably like 2018, where like Lounge started being more about like top players playing more greedy, you know, playing in that way that I was kind of talking about before, that like wouldn't win you good rooms, but you play like that in like worse rooms as a top player. So like people are like getting better at many different things, right? 1v1ing, like, you know, mechanics, driving, that's kind of in mechanics, I guess. Like that sort of shit, right? Even like basic item strategy. But I think there's a lot of like small nuances and small like little decisions, like the way people gather information and the way people like preemptively play around things that haven't happened yet, kind of almost like positioning and stuff like that too. Those kind of things, I think, kind of got like, people stopped getting better at them, at least very much. Like there were small things people just didn't really get better at. So with that in mind, right, like when you think about how people have been continuing like to improve in like many areas, but then in like the core like fundamental areas that make you win, people haven't been getting better at. Oh, that that would make you win in theory in a good room anyway. It's really difficult to say, because like you could argue that something like the Sergeant tournament was like peak competition, right? But like you can also make the argument that a lot of people in that like weren't really practiced in like good rooms because they're not really something that happen anymore. But then you go to 2017 where you had maybe like Jeff, Crash, Fox, myself, Mikey, Sean, like obviously where like it sounds like holy shit, it's crazy. And yes, people were really good, but like they were also way worse in a lot of areas than now, right? Even if some of them were maybe better at like the fundamental stuff that are even arguably more important. It's a really difficult question to answer, so I kind of just rambled for no reason, but yeah. Okay, this is gonna make it... Okay, yes, I actually do think that. I think... Okay. The reason why I, like, remain very, very confident about, like... about myself and, like, Marika Wii is because, like... Like, the way I learned to play Mogi in tournaments and stuff like that, like the way I kind of molded my playstyle was like in theory like what I thought was like, okay, this is how you win consistently, right? And from there I stopped playing and I came back like after a really long break, and I noticed that people had gotten better. There were like changes. People got better at certain things, but there were tiny little nuances that I think were like that I think are very, very important that people didn't learn. I appreciate that, Barney. And I think there are some players who kind of naturally lean towards playing in a style that is similar. Barney, actually, coincidentally, is one of them.
What am I now? Sorry, I was sold out.
There are like small little nuances when it comes to like winning in really good rooms that I think people haven't really like learned. I think people stopped like learning this shit back in like 2018. That I think like coincidentally your playstyle kind of aligns with those a little bit.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And it's like the best way I can explain it, and the reason why, like, okay, I'm just gonna outright say it because I don't want to dance around it. I'm not gonna make some like crazy claim and say like the whole fucking game or something. But if we're talking just like 1v1 FFAs, I think like I'm the most consistent player in FFAs. And the reason why like I think that is because in that format especially, I think it's very, very important to play around things preemptively, right? Which includes a lot of like information gathering, and it includes a lot of like how do I even put this, right? Like there are some things you just can't react to, so you need to have focus in certain areas to know that like they can happen before they happen. And I think a lot of like focus is misdirected. I mean that could definitely be a part of it, contingency planning. But I think a really basic example is if you compare like how much faster I drive in wars versus how much faster I drive in FFAs, but how much slower I drive in FFAs rather. Like in wars, obviously you kind of need to drive fast, put a lot of effort into like mechanics and shit. But in FFAs, you need to make sure that you don't get punished, right? Even in tournaments in general. Like, in my opinion, the number one thing to focus on is you don't play to win, you play to not lose, right? And if you can play without getting punished at all, you will win, 100%. And I think a lot of people, again, like basic example, like they put effort in like the wrong places. For example, driving, right? This is a basic example. And if you're putting effort into driving or into mechanics, and you play very like in the moment, like frozen layups, for example, whilst they are super fucking insane players, right? I think inherently the way they play is with a handicap, right? And I think like if you look at Frozen, he has a ton of results in tournaments and stuff. And I think that's because like when everyone plays in tournaments, they get all passive and scared, and he has like balls of steel and is super good at executing, so he just like gets free value on people. But if you have 11 Frozens in one room, they're not getting free value off of each other, right? They're all going to be like shitting on each other. So then if you have 11 Frozens and one like really methodical player, the methodical player is going to be the most consistent, right? The reason why it worked for Frozen is because he was the only one doing it, right? And if you have 12 methodical players, it's obviously a bit of a toss-up then, right? Like it comes down to who's better at it. Same with Frozen if there was 12 of them. Like, it's really like the point I want to make here is that there's inherent risk to playing like that, just because you cannot react to everything, and eventually you will be punished, right? Like, eventually you are going to be punished. You cannot react to everything. And the way that I like kind of built my play style in FFAs, or I guess this Mogi, whatever, is if you play to have your focus in other areas and you avoid all the things that like you can preemptively like recognize, then you can also switch into a like fast driving mode where you can get value for fast driving, right? So there's definitely going to be some situations where you'll get more value just by having like your default mode be drive fast and play risky, but you will get punished way more doing so, right? So kind of like sit back, focus on everything else, avoid everything preemptively, and then you will have again those times where you realize, okay, I can drive fast right here, you know. Then you can get value from that. I went about explaining it kind of poorly, but I'm sure you get the point. Like TLDR, like people are kind of misplacing their focus, and they're losing out on things they could avoid by not like. It's almost like thinking ahead, like not realizing something is going to happen before it happens because they're thinking about the wrong thing, or they're just not thinking ahead enough. And I think that skill inherently is really underdeveloped, just because like there's not really as much for a need for it anymore, right? In lounge as it is, and that's why like I am as confident as I am like going into FFAs nowadays, because people haven't really practiced it, and I feel like people are arguably worse at the core, like fundamental, this is how you win parts of the game than they were back then. It's just that everyone's a lot harder to play around because they're a lot better at being fucking pests, you know, like not spacing from you, trying to hit you, like all of that, right? Like, it's harder to play your own race now. Because ideally, right, you should avoid engagements. In that sort of format. You don't want to engage with other people. You want to just play your own race, let them play their own race. But a lot of people like to engage nowadays, and it's fucking annoying because they're not easy to get rid of like they were before. You forgot the third type of Daisy players. Oh. I fucking hate them.
No, same?
What's a common scenario in which you practice damage control like that? Oh god, I ranted so much, so I have no idea what example exactly you're referencing. Hold on. How much impact does my having a consistency? I mean, I think it's really hard to say, right? Because I'd say this is more than a mindset and more of like something I actively like learned how to do, right? Like, you can say like I'm gonna focus less on driving, but if you don't actually like find the other things you're supposed to be putting your focus on, then at that point you're just depriving yourself of like driving, right? Like, so it's hard to say, right? Like, I feel like it's a really difficult like thing to tackle. And because it's weird, right? Like, because I'll be watching like, okay, I don't watch people play Mario Kart that often. TTs, I watch a fair amount of, but bogeys and stuff I don't watch that much of. But like, I'll be watching people, like I don't even know, like I feel like Fox is like one of the only people who I watched. Like occasionally Barney, maybe like Frozen every so often, Cass every so often, and I feel there'll be times where it's like I knew something was gonna happen, and then like they're caught off guard by it, right? And I feel you have to have been like thinking about it, right? You have to have been like thinking about that could possibly happen, right? Which would take experience and would take practice and like God knows what else. Like just not focusing on your driving won't necessarily make you realize it's going to happen. Like I feel like you have to be not focusing on your driving, but then you also have to have been through it before, and you also have to realize like somehow, again, that is going to happen. Like so like practice is like the biggest thing. I feel like maybe there'd be some benefits, like by trying to like approach a game like that, like some immediate benefits. But I feel like it would take a while for it to like really work. But like I do promise, like I promise, like that like this is that is like a small part, but a small important part of like how you win in Mario Kart. Like it is very important. I see the Twillongs, everyone else speaks the TLDR. Yeah, I don't know, I just really like to say every little detail. I mean, I like storytelling as well, right? I don't know. Speaking is fun. What do you think of the impact of the loss of Frozen plus JX and the evolution of the meta in game? I do think it's a shame. It's hard to really like know. Just because like I don't know the inner workings of JX, right? So I can't have like a perfect idea of what exactly they were bringing to the table. But I mean, just from playing against them, I think like if I take my experience playing like wars of MW versus JX, I think those wars had like a level of intensity that is like unmatched by like anything else I've ever played in wars. There's obviously intensity to other formats too, but it's like kind of like a different type of intensity. So of course, like I've played a lot of really good teams over the years, right? But warring has obviously evolved to a point where like there's so many different things to think about, and there's a lot of focus you have to put when you're playing in the front, because people are a lot better at playing in the front. It's just like so fucking intense, right? And I feel whilst you can't perfectly replicate said intensity, just by playing against that team. I feel like you need a team that is like kind of close to that. I think you can get like some of it, right? Like the amount of like pressure that like playing versus a team like that will like put onto you, I think could do wonders for improvement if you play versus them a lot. So I do think losing them is like a negative. I think most people would agree, like in terms of like playing, it's a negative. I think a lot of people would argue that like it's a positive, behavior wise, like, from the social aspect of the scene. But I do think they were very fucking good. I don't think many people would argue otherwise. No, Emil, I can kind of like relate to that. There's small little comments that I remember that I don't know why I remember them. Right, like I remember back when I was first like kind of getting super good in CX. I remember like Lacey making a comment about how I was always in first or something along the lines of that. And then a little bit later I was in like a slump and I was struggling, and I remember a comment that Samuel made in a Twitch chat during finals saying that Xander was never up there. I was like never in the front, I was always in the back, or something like that, right? And that kind of clicked for me. It made me realize exactly what it was that like I was doing wrong, and why I like kind of fell into a slump, right? And that's also what made me start like consciously like thinking about how I played, and it gave me like a conscious understanding of my play style and how to play the game as opposed to it all being intuitive. So it kind of ensured I didn't fall into like bad habits again. So I can thank Samuel.
Fucking Samuel. Coming clutch.
For that, yeah.
All you needed was a play by Samuel.
True. How do you find the intensity difference from 5 to 66? I really like 66, to be honest. I will say that when I played 66, there was noticeably a lot more going on. Like, I feel like at this point when I played with Team Europe, I can't remember what the lineup was. Like Noctil, Jeff, Fox, Barney might have been playing. I don't know.
Probably not.
Crash might have been playing. I'm not too sure who played, but I remember like kind of trying to take on like an IGL role, because like people were all pretty like shy. Like I figured it wasn't really gonna mesh super well. Yeah, Faisal was playing, so I tried to like IGL and lead, since I was pretty comfortable with doing that. And there was definitely a lot more going on. Like having that extra person there to like think about was surprisingly difficult. Like, even though I was completely comfortable with doing it with just 3 other runners. So it was definitely hard, and I think people will get used to it when we, if we played it more. But I don't necessarily think it adds like extra like intensity. Like it's definitely more like the best way I can explain it is that like the intensity that I described from like playing like a high level wall is more like, I use the word like pressure as well. Like pressure like fits the feeling like very well. Like there's this constant looming pressure, like you can't let your guard down almost, right? And you have to try really fucking hard. Whereas like 66, like whilst it wasn't like necessarily like intensity in that way, like there definitely was like a lot more going on. In a way that was like I mean it was hard to keep track of. It's really hard to like give like a proper like opinion on it when like it's played so little, right? Like I feel like I'd be able to give like a better answer if it was played more often. I will say though, people have been like talking about wanting to try to add like more, what do you call it? More variety to wars and stuff by adding other CCs. I think that just making it 6v6, like having some 6v6s, would be like a pretty good way to add variety, without like throwing away the kind of level of, I guess, like skill. I don't like using that word, but the level of skill there is like in wars right now. I think like Mirror being in wars at high level, for example, would be really weird. Like there'd be such a contrast between like performance on 150 and Mirror, like in terms of like mechanical skill, I guess. I don't know. I think like to some degree, I think like having more items on the track, like it does make it more like hectic and more difficult, but the difference is a lot more prevalent, I feel like, in like a 12-player FFA room, right? Like in the end, like the situations that you're in are still gonna be pretty similar. Like the pack's still gonna spread, and they're still going to be like each race is going to be like little mini like isolated races, right? Like the guy in 5th and 6th and 7th trying to like schlag each other, and like top 3 like battling it out, right? Like you're not going to be like interacting with like every single person like at the same time, for example. And I think like for that reason, like even though there is more going on, there's not always like such an obvious difference in like every single situation. There are definitely some instances that will be like super chaotic that wouldn't have happened in 5v5, but I wouldn't say it would be like a consistent thing. I would say like the biggest difference would probably be like, at least the biggest difference that would hit you across the face like immediately would be like how the call is, right? Like how much information is kind of being like thrown at you at once. Oh shit, based on this experience, would you say getting flamed is integral to improving? I do not think getting flamed is integral to improving. I think criticism is important on some level, but to the extent of getting flamed, I don't think so. I think oftentimes getting flamed will probably result in the opposite, right? People will get like defensive and like not really want to listen to any sort of criticism the person has to offer. I think it will only be like a small percentage of people who would like take flame, have it not really bother them, and be like, maybe they have a point, right? And like even then, to be honest, like it's not like I saw that message from Samuel and went like, you know what, he's right. Like I kind of saw it and I was like a bit sad, right? And then like the only reason why I figured something out is because like I think a lot, right? And I just so happened to be thinking about that comment probably like 24 hours later, and where I was like over it. I wasn't upset anymore, and I was like, I wonder if he has a point. But most people I don't think would kind of do that. I think a lot of people would see it, think about it for a little bit, but like that guy's a fucking moron, fuck him. Like, especially like if you like perform badly, right? Like. Opinions on 100cc. I don't necessarily think it's uncompetitive, but I do think it's very unsatisfying to play. I think it's not as fun, especially when you're used to 150. Like maybe if there was a world where 150 never existed, then 100 would be fine. But after driving 150, like I just don't want to play 100cc. And again, I wouldn't exactly call it like uncompetitive. And there are some unique 100cc strats, right? Like, well, maybe not unique, but like, for example, like the rock up on 100cc was a lot more difficult. BC3 Ultra you can do in a star, but you can't do it trimless, like that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's pretty cool, I guess. But like overall, it's just like a worse experience, in my opinion. I think a lot of people would agree. You know, if you look at its popularity. And because of that, I'm just not really interested. Like, I can't really give any reason to like not have it in the game, aside from it just not being enjoyable, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people would probably agree with that. Yeah, potentially. I just think that, like, as far as I can tell, the tracks were designed for 150, right? Like, so I just feel like slowing it down is a bit like, it doesn't feel right. And it, like I said, it sure as hell feels unsatisfying. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Like, ultimately, if you've got like like, how do I put this? I mean, if it's harder to become a top player, there are going to be less top players, of course. And yeah, I agree. When there are less top players, there are less people who brainstorm and think of ways to get better, and ultimately like bounce off of each other and push the meta further. So it sucks. It sucks. It does fucking suck. Oh, unlucky run.
That was not really a good run anyway.
That's, well, this run's about to be epic. But yeah, I think like the really like advanced stuff, I think as well, again, like, okay, I guess like this is less important right now because there are so many like different things that people could learn that are like, you know, steps below this that are still like advanced. But like the stuff I was talking about before, right, that like I feel like little nuances that even like top players don't really like kind of know about. You know, since the meta is, the game isn't really played in a way where like you play in like only good rooms, it's really hard for top players to know that in the first place. And if top players don't know it, if top players don't showcase those skills, those thought processes, then, you know, people of lower levels not going to learn either. But yeah, there definitely like are things even below that that could help a ton. It's just that unfortunately, again, like, I feel like a lack of top players kind of hurts here too, right? Because the less top players you have, the less top players who are going to be willing to like put information out there, right? Like, it's a shame. And also, like, some people who are willing to put information out there, like, might be giving that out like false information. Like, there are very few top players who like I would really trust to give people like high level advice. Now, high level, quote unquote, is obviously relative to who you are. You know, it's subjective to some degree. A high level might be all the way up there. For others, it might be a bit more down there. But if we're talking like the really advanced stuff, which I think is worth kind of talking about a bit. It's hard to know who to trust. And there are some people that I outright don't trust. But yeah, it's tough. I don't know. I would really love if there were like more. There was more like stuff like this, like out there of like, you know, this is how you approach this and this and that. Like more talks like this. Like Sane kind of had like a Mogi series at one point, which I thought was like great, because he's like actually like someone who has played at the very, very top at one point. And whilst he may not have the deepest, greatest understanding to like Mogi, he played like at a point in time where the metagame was completely just, it wasn't any of like the surface level shit that people are getting better at now. It was all about how to win, and I feel like he has like a good general idea, like good game sense as to like how to win, right? So having someone like him make that kind of video, I thought was cool. And again, whilst he wasn't like the greatest player in the world, right? Like I'm not gonna sit here and say that like he is gonna be giving like the best advice you could possibly get. I haven't watched the videos, but I do trust for like what I could tell he was going for. I do feel like I'd wager he did a good job from what I like know about him. So I thought that was cool. I need to catch up on chat. I should say though that like the whole like playing thousands of hours for like some sort of self-discovery, I do think that ultimately that's going to apply no matter what to some degree. I do think there's like a huge lack of information out there, but you know, those really, really tiny things, I think there's going to be a lot of different people saying different things, right? And especially as a player who isn't really there yet, you know, you don't really know what you're doing, like someone in that position isn't going to know who to listen to, right? So I think self-discovery ultimately is always going to come into the equation. Able to make that comment, but unfortunately I'm not qualified to do so. Well, honestly, Emil, I think like I think at least like putting in like an effort to put some information out there would be like good, right? Like I understand that like some people like have more game knowledge than others and are ultimately like more qualified, right? But like sharing what has like helped you is still going to help a lot of people, because like in the end, right, like even if you're not the best fucking player in the game, like there's going to be a lot of people who aren't as good as you, right? Good job, Elias. Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about what Arkantel did, and I think he provided like a pretty okay, like surface level kind of set of guides for people who like weren't really that knowledgeable. I think it's a good way to kind of get into that stuff, but yeah, of course, it wasn't like, you know, you're not gonna go from watching like Arkantel to like, you know, getting in the ring with fucking like Crash and Jeff and stuff, right? Like, it just, that, you know, that ain't gonna happen. Do you think it sucks that it's kind of only comes out in round like someone asked in Twitch chat? I think it fucking blows. Yeah, I think it really, really sucks. I would love to talk about this stuff more, and I would love to do shit like VOD reviews and podcasts and all of that, and obviously I have interest in doing things that, you know, stem to, you know, outside of the game too, in terms of like content, but I'm very lazy. I'm very, very lazy, and I understand that isn't an excuse, and I deserve to be slapped in the fucking face. Maybe not that, because obviously yeah, I'm doing it for free, right, and there's no obligation for me to do it, but like, I think it would be a nice thing for me to do, especially because I do think I do think that there's like anyone to do this. I think it should be me. Oh god, that's kind of cringe, but like yeah. We bring so much to the table. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate the appreciation. Yeah. I mean, having more information out there could definitely be like helpful. Who do you think is the best player ever to touch the game for the competitive scene? Well.
Oh boy.
I think asking me about what I think is maybe. I think getting it. Okay. Well, if you want me to give my completely honest and unfiltered answer,
Here he comes.
I think my peak is
There it is.
the highest of anyone else's. However, I'm not gonna sit here and act like people have to agree, because I understand that like it's not like I'm out there showing it and proving it, right? So I can't really I'm not gonna. If people want to disagree, that's completely understandable and perfectly fine. I think there are a lot of good players though, a lot of good players. And if we want to make it, if we want to have a more unbiased answer, where I have to like say someone that isn't myself. Very difficult. It's very difficult. If we're taking like everything into like the equation, like literally everything,
Battle mode.
then like maybe like I would. Oh, it's really hard to say. I would maybe say Fox, but like I feel like there are other contenders too. Like if you look at results as of recently, even fucking Barney's been popping off. I think Crash is super fucking good. He just doesn't play right now. I think like Crash, I think is definitely a contender for that. Jeff, maybe. I'm not completely sure. What was it? Oh, let's make a video. Oh my god, dude. I mean, I would love to make a video and stuff, it's just that I am very lazy. I already have this massive fucking thing I'm writing up, which I still need to finish, but I'm still fucking not finishing it. Let's see, yeah, I understand that like naming myself is like a very like cop out and like kind of cringe thing to do, but yeah, I don't know. But, I mean, there are a lot of fucking good players around. Plus, do you have saving VODs on, Bonnie?
Yeah, I should.
Okay, well that is. Okay, that is great. Well, the VOD will be saved. About like before, I should say that answering the whole like best player thing, I guess it does depend on like the criteria. Because if you look at like Sean, for example, he was like at the top for the longest, I think. Right? Like, but like he never really learned how to play like Wars properly. And then for a long time, like, I feel like there are people who competed with him and possibly even outdid him in Mogi, right? But like I mean, obviously in tournaments he was super fucking good. So it's hard to say, right? Especially because like he hasn't played for a while, and the game is like continuously improving. I think if he came back and he like, I think before he quit he was in a bit of a slump. I think he was like perma tilted.
Oh, he definitely was.
Yeah, like he was like perma tilted, so if he came back he'd probably struggle, but if he got rid of like the perma tilt, I think he could still be one of the best for sure. Because again, like in the end, right, like I think people haven't really gotten much better at like, you know, the fundamentals of winning since years before he stopped playing, right? So I'm willing to bet he could still come back and do well. Just not if he's evil Tanny.
Yeah, no evil Tanny. We don't like evil Tanny.
Evil Tanny was very tilted and struggled, but the guy is very cracked. So yeah, you know, in the end, right? If we're saying like who is the best of all time in terms of like who is at the top for the longest, I don't think you can answer anyone that isn't Sean, because like he played from like 2008 to like 2020 and was at the top the whole time. But like if we're talking like peak, like obviously I mean not obviously, but I wouldn't put Sean at the very top then. I think Sean's like 25 or 26.
He's older than that.
Yeah, he might be like 27. I don't fucking know how old Sean is, dude.
Yeah,
I have no idea. Are there any Wi-Fi players who could quit and still compete in D1 today? Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's the one.
I think there are people who I'm sure could very well play for maybe like a year or so and get to the level that allows them to compete. But if we're taking like take their peak on Wi-Fi and put them in D1 now, they would get fucking slobber knockered, dude. They'd get fucking shit on.
I mean, there's no one who's come back from like Wi-Fi area who's like been able to slot in and just been top player. The closest one is Thunder, actually, funnily enough.
Yeah, and the reason why Thunder got there is because he played with the kind of mindset of like, all right, I have no fucking idea how to play. How do I get better?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Zoan, who played much more recently than Thunder, came back and he's been struggling for a while, right? Like Thunder had to learn how to play Mario Kart Wii as it is now. He's done a damn good job though, I'll give him that. He has been popping off.
Yeah. Kinda cracked.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit sad, but like, the game has just gotten like so much better. Like, I think people really romanticize like old players.
Yeah, they do.
Like, and yeah, they were like insane. And like, and it's still impressive how good they were to some degree, like, you know, at the time. But like, people have just gotten like so much better. And like, in turn, because people are better, you know, the intensity, I guess, of rooms higher, everything's faster pace. Like, even the stuff you do know, you need to know it faster. Like in the moment, you need to make decisions quicker. Like everything just has to be better, more fluid. Like I feel like this is, it's really hard to be a player who played then and play now. Thunder isn't buying other players' results when they play safer. See, that's interesting. I don't really watch Thunder that much, but I remember I had a VOD review with him, and I was gonna stream it, but I didn't. And he got a VOD review from Casper, I think it was, and like I think like Casper told him like somewhere along the lines of like, you need to play more aggressive, which is like such a completely right thing, but also like such a completely wrong thing, because like you have to play aggressive in these like low level rooms, but like at the level that Thunder was, he couldn't afford to play aggressive yet. So like, see, I don't know if like I'm not gonna sit here and act like I was the one that changed Thunder, but I was slapping him over the damn wrist, like dude, you gotta stop. I was always a bit nicer about it, but he was playing like pretty greedy in some situations, and I was telling him, okay, you need to pull back a bit. And it looks like he has, maybe, based on that comment. I don't know though. At the very least, he's gotten way better. Whether he did or didn't listen to what I had to say, he has gotten much better than he was, which is very impressive. As a VOD review, your POV of Sergeant Finals, I do not want to watch the Sergeant Finals. I have a little secret. I really hate to listen to calls of wars or watch gameplay where I'm in the room where I like was ill, right? Like, I remember we had like selected races to go up on the NW channel, and some races in the call I blatantly like didn't feel like myself listening to it, and I know like I had brain fog at the time, like I had the head issue thing, and I just like didn't want those races to like go up, and
Not your fault. It's funny how I just like cannot drive a good lap once to save my life, and I just like crank out good lap 2s and 3s like it's for fun. Yeah, I just don't know what it is.
It's gonna come together soon.
Yeah, I've been driven like low as fuck 0.5, and I can't even like get below 820 lap ones. Yeah, sorry, you continue.
No, you're fine. Don't worry. This is your stream, dude.
I'm letting you hand drag it, so I can just focus on time trial while you do the content.
Understandable. But yeah, like that like FFA, whilst it doesn't upset me as much as it would have years ago, because I'm kind of like more used to dealing with like the problems. I think watching it would just make me think like, dude, like if I just like felt like a little bit better that day and I didn't make those 2 fucking massive mistakes, I would have won. Like I'll be thinking that the whole fucking time. Like, and obviously I think a lot of people will be thinking that stuff about a lot of things that they did too, because everyone fucked up.
If I stayed second up Daisy Circuit, man.
Yeah. Like, but yeah, like it's the ones specifically where like I don't feel good, right? Like those are the ones that really get me down in the dumps nowadays. Like at this point, like if I feel like healthy and I lose something, which, well, I can't really say this for certain because I haven't really felt super good whilst playing something in a while, but as far as I can tell, the worse I feel looking back at it, the worse I feel looking back at it, the worse it, what the fuck am I saying? The worse I felt in the moment, the worse I feel looking back at it, right? Because it's like playing with an active handicap, right? It's like, why the fuck do I have to deal with this bullshit? Which is like a little bit sad, but it is what it is. I'll be cured of it soon, hopefully. And so I think like if I go into something completely feeling good and I were to lose, it would be like, yeah, I don't want to lose, right? I'll be like, oh, you know, God, I shouldn't have made that fuck up. But I won't be like really upset about it or anything. You think about the time Jeff played a 1v1 with somebody? Yeah, I remember seeing that. Like, dude, it's crazy because back in the day, like when Jeff really first started like putting a lot of effort into his driving, like I remember just thinking like that guy's a fucking moron for that, because at that point, like driving was really not that important. Like, or it wasn't like, well, it's still not super important now, but it's more important than it was. And nobody was really good at forcing themselves to drive at like their fastest, right? Like, I feel most people toned down their driving a little bit online, played very safe, played a little slow, but then like you had Jeff who was like trying to drive like really fast, like all the time, and he was like fucking up a lot. But now years later, right, he has like trained himself to the point of like doing it like whilst hardly fucking up, right? And then you've also got him like doing shit like that, right? Like there's like the level at which he like kind of consistently drives and like puts effort into driving. Maybe not like right this second, but like when he was playing a lot, I think is like very, very impressive. Do you think Wi-Fi Nostalgia is looking players around? It's hard to say, because I like, you know, of course I can't read people's minds, and I don't, I go around like surveying this, obviously. But like I only have like my little group to judge off of. I personally play because I like to compete. I think the feeling of competing, like that's what gets me going, man. Like I was saying the other day that like I can't really try as hard in lounge. Like I really have to force myself to make the right decisions in lounge. But in tournaments, like I click on and I just play way better. I just love the feeling of competing. And I think a good amount of the people that play probably share a similar feeling, at least at top level. I mean, I suppose now's the time to input, Barney. Why do you still play the game?
I know.
Why, like,
great psychology question. No clue.
I see. Because like for me, like it's the feeling of competing. I like competing a lot. I love it.
I wish I knew the answer to that, to be honest. But that's just like some deep bad psychology question. It doesn't make any sense about the hell I do this. Guys, I find some sort of enjoyment out of hitting that wall.
I suppose so, yeah. What are we gonna do about the Wii consoles and peripherals getting older? Oh. See, this sort of stuff, like, I feel like I definitely should be thinking about, like, at least like the latter two questions. I feel like I definitely should be thinking about, because like the first one, I feel like I may not be like, you know, who knows? I might be dead by the time I'm out of Wii's to buy. Like, but like the latter two questions, I feel like I should be thinking about. I can't say I put much thought into it before. This is like it's like not a part of like the game itself. But I feel like there is definitely some like quality of life changes that like could be in, that it would be really nice. I don't know if I'd use the word should. Because like ultimately I don't think there's anything like outrageous about the game right now, right? So yeah, I'm not really sure. And I think like CTGP right now, I actually the kind of competitive sort of thing that like Iric made, like Iric and the boys made this like 5v5 format with different item probabilities, right? And whilst I'm unsure about using different item probabilities, this is something that like they'd have to experiment with and all of that. There were actually like on the menus, they removed the animations whenever you like selected something, right? So like if you like selected a license, instead of the animation where the licenses like fly off on the side of the screen and you're at the main menu, you'd hit A and you were instantly on the main menu, right? Like little animations like that, like on every page, like the friend roasted thing, right? Like you'd hit A on friends list and you'd instantly be on it, right? Like that sort of stuff I think was super good. And I feel like having a loader more dedicated to the competitive scene probably would be for the best. But I don't think CTGP is a bad option right now. I think it's fine. I think it's acceptable. And you know, most importantly, as far as we know, it's cheat proof, right? Like that is like a big one. Well, cheat proof, quote unquote. I understand you can, in theory, but it's
Yeah, saying it's
obviously
is probably wrong, but
yeah,
we
but
don't
like
know right now of any spoiler at least.
yeah, like it's not simple for like just anyone to go and cheat. I feel like for the average person it's a good amount of work, and you have like Star who was like finding exploits before and giving them to Mr. Bean. Like it's definitely a lot harder to cheat than like other loaders. So yeah, I mean, if we could get like a loader that was as difficult to cheat with as CGGP, that was more dedicated to the competitive scene, then I'd argue we should switch to it. But I do think it's fine right now, at least until CGGP goes off in some like whack-ass direction, hoping that never happens. Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, I can't really see like I wouldn't have anything against that. Like small little things like that, I feel like I can't imagine anyone would argue them as like a negative, like they're doing something like that. So yeah, I mean, I could definitely get behind that. I just personally like, I don't think about that stuff that much, to be like completely blunt, I guess. Like whenever I play the game, I'm just thinking about like, all right, how the fuck do I win? Like that, like I don't know, maybe a little bit of a caveman brain moment, but like I'm very tunnel visioned on playing the game and trying to win in it and stuff, right? But I do definitely think there are probably, like that, like things that could definitely be tweaked and improved for the sake of like quality of life and stuff. If lag could be dramatically reduced, would that make the competition better or worse? Okay. I think it depends. I'd put it on like a scale almost. Like EU to NA lag, I think is a good thing, right? And then like kind of general like lag, like turning invisible, not being completely like in your perfect line, like stuff like that, I think is a good thing. But when you have like EU or NA to Japan lag, or to Australia, I think there are more negatives to positives. Like, of course, having a good understanding of lag when you're playing versus like a Japanese player, and like being able to understand like when you're ahead of them and like where they are, and like being able to maybe like snipe them when they're behind you on your screen, like stuff like that, right? Like it's cool, it's fun, like there's obviously skill to it, but I think like a lot of like interaction is like heavily like altered when there's that much lag, right? Like if I were to play a war versus Heaven, it's completely unlike any other war in the sense that like it's no longer like warring versus another team where you're like constantly interacting and like hitting each other. It feels more like a Mogi, right? Where like I feel like playing more passively is rewarded, and it's more about just not getting hit. Like individual strategy, I think prevails more when you play in that sort of war. Whereas like it's a lot more dynamic when you play with less lag. However, that little bit of lag, I think, is a big deal in terms of like I think there's a big, pretty high like skill ceiling already when it comes to playing around lag of just someone who is like from America, if you're playing from Europe. So that's already like a huge skill that you can improve like a ton. and it can set you apart like a lot, right, from other people. But then, you know, you go and make it like some, you know, again, if it's somebody from Europe, and you play with someone from Japan, it's way more lag, right? But it doesn't actually really raise the skill ceiling of like playing around lag or understanding it by that much. It just kind of like adds a bit more, like you kind of need a bit more understanding, and then it takes away like a lot of forms of interaction. So if we could somehow like keep lag in but make it like EU to NA lag at the worst, I think that would be like ideal. But if we were gonna pick like either no lag at all or like only EU to Japan lag, I'd pick no lag at all. I think like lag to that extent takes away too much. But you know, just below that, again, the EU to NA, I think adds a lot and doesn't take away very much. Has anybody seriously warred with high data rate? Back when it first came out, we played some high data rate wars, but like this is maybe when it was less optimized. But people who had net that like wasn't as good, they would be lagging like a fuck ton, right? Like they'd be able to function on like the regular game, but you know, you put that shitty ass net on fucking on HDR, and all of a sudden they're just fucking going to the fucking moon, like they're getting abducted on the racetrack, like they're flying all over the place, freestyling, like it was fucking crazy. And then they DC a lot too. But it might be a lot better now. It was interesting though, anyway, with like how quickly like reds and stuff hit. I mean, I don't mind it again, right? I just think that small bit of lag, I do like. Mary Meg, were there any like connection issues with people in that war? Because I can only assume they would have improved HDR by now. But like I said, back when I played it, it was a mess for those who like didn't have like at least like decent internet. Oh, I see. Okay, okay. I had to get some water. I've been speaking.
Any good runs this sesh? Not really. I had a good laps, good lap 2s and 3s. Basically no good lap 1s. Kind of where I'm chilling out right now. That lap 1 had potential though, but no. Come on.
I think like when it comes to like info dumping, I would like to do something like that. But my priority is definitely what I've been like referencing a little bit recently, and have referenced occasionally for a while. Like the thing I was writing, which I would love to make into a video. I just don't know if I will make it into a video. Well, like as opposed to writing about like how to like win, I more wrote about like how to like approach the game, or like how to approach things, and it's like how to get good at getting good, kind of, right? Like, and I feel like there's things that like don't even just kind of like apply to games, but even like things outside of games, and even just life in general. Like there's a lot of like kind of different views and thought processes that have like helped me like everywhere, right? But I kind of came across them from playing originally. So like I would love to get that out. I would love to make a video out of it, but when I finish getting it like, you know, written up and stuff, I need to record the entire thing. I need to create visuals for the video. I don't know what I will do. Then I need to hire translators, because ideally I would like to get subtitles in Japanese, Spanish, and French, because those communities are huge in the AD community. And then go from there, right? But like even just finishing the thing is like so difficult, because it's like I don't want to do too much, but I don't want to do like not enough, and I've like kind of revamped it a couple of times, and I think right now is like my final revamp, but it's like I'm halfway through and I've put it off for a while. Yeah, I mean, at some point, like if I will get it finished at some point. And it may not be a video. Ideally, I'd like it to be a video, but if I finish it and I'm like, alright, I can't be bothered to make this into a video, or if I try and I just give up, then I'll just like release the text version or something, right? Well, I think it's like, that's true. Like if info changes, like it would have to be changed, or re-uploaded. I think like stuff like this is, it's less of like how to play the game and more of like how I believe one should like approach things, which like in general, you know, again, how to get good at getting good, like sort of like a mentality and like improvement, like a look at mentality and improvement. And whilst like there are definitely going to be things I'm sure I would change, I think there's a good chance a lot of it is would stand the test of time. I would like to say that. I'm not gonna act like it's shit won't be disproven. Like obviously I'm sure some of it could be. But I wouldn't include things I'd be like wishy-washy about. I guess it'd only be stuff I felt very concrete on. Yeah, when it comes to like specific things like mechanics, like things that like relate more to the game specifically, like that I am unsure if I'd want to make a video out of, because like that would change very, very frequently. But like this one was obviously more of like a general thing, because I think in the end, right, like if I can teach people how to like more effectively learn, I guess it's less so learning, but it's more of like if I can teach people to have a healthier approach or like a more effective approach to learning, that is something that like will, like, giving someone that better foundation, I think will provide like a lot, right? As opposed to just like teaching like the lessons, like giving the information themselves. I don't know. If that doesn't make sense, but I feel like this is like at the very bottom of the foundation of like how to get good at something, how to approach something, like when you're trying to learn. You know, like obviously it's centered around Mario Kart. But I feel like, you know, if you establish a foundation like this, it would make it like a lot easier to like get better at the game or get better at whatever else. Oh, how much have you answered Connor, Barney? But he asked if you've tried doing the curb ride strat thing lap 3.
I tried the curb ride. Oh, wait, I never saw that. I'll just let you do the chat interaction. Yeah, no, I haven't messed with the Justin strat at all. I'm a noob, so I haven't messed with it. I would like to, but I have to do it in Dolphin first. I'm not gonna like bother just like doing it in actual time trials before I looked at it in Dolphin.
Oh, I remember I was actually writing an actual like Mario Kart guide originally, but I'd fucking took a break from that for a while, and then like came back and played the game a bit more, and then kind of felt like, wow, this game is changing. like wow, there are these things that like I would need to like include, and then it kind of made me think like how much is going to need to be changed by the time like I finish this, and then I kind of just stopped doing it. But ultimately, I think there needs to be something like this. I think at one point, like, I can't say it'll be something that I would do soon, but like I would like to make something along the lines. Oh, it'd just be so fucking nice though if like other people did it too. Like obviously this is the exact problem people were just like talking about, but like the fact that like it's almost like coming down to like me to do it is like that's like, it makes me really, really want to do it, but it's also a bit like stressful, right? Like, cause I want to, but I also don't want to like promise it. It'd be fucking epic if more people were willing to do it. I think it would be easier for me to contribute as well if other people were doing it too. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't understand shit about improving visuals, so I can't input much there. Oh, dude. You know, I really, really want to commit to another game. Like, not even because I like. Okay, I don't even know why I have to clarify like that. I was gonna say not even because I hate Mario Kart, but like obviously that wasn't a condition to committing to another game. I just think that like saying I want to commit to another game makes it sound like anything but Mario Kart. Because I've played a lot of Mario Kart, and I'd like to dabble, you know, elsewhere a little bit. But I always fucking quit. I always stop playing.
You sure do.
Or I do some dumb shit. CS:GO, you know, me and the boys playing some CS. What I do, I stop playing. Me and the boys playing some Apex. What I do, I stop playing. Me and the boys playing Fortnite. What I do, change my binds 50 times, then stop playing.
Me and the
well,
boys play
actually,
Valorant.
I
What
changed
am
my
I
binds.
do? I'm gonna quit in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, dude. And then like Osu, like I don't know, Fortnite was like, I got so good at like edit stuff, like little box fights, like in little private rooms, man. But then like my game sense and actual fights and real lobbies was really bad because I spent so much time like relearning binds to where I like had to focus on pressing buttons and I fell behind on like decision making in fights. It was so bad. But if we play like a private room, like I'd be shitting on people, man. But then we go in like actual rooms, especially if I was alone. If I was playing a solo game, like solo, like competitive, I'd be lost. Like it was so bad. And then like Osu I played for a while and I was like getting quite good quite quickly. I switched to tablet. But here's the catch. There's always a catch. I write with my left hand, but I used the mouse in my right. So I was using the tablet pen in my right. And my hand just couldn't handle using a fucking pen in my right hand. So like it just didn't really work and I fucked up my muscle memory with mouse and then I also switched mouse like 5 times, and I also changed a lot of things. So you know, my muscle memory in Osu is completely gone, and I could never get into it again, and I quit. My Osu username is just Xander, I think. But yeah, it is I think Crash is a left-hander as well. I think there's definitely a left-hander. Well, not to be pedantic, this is a bit of an well. Technically, I'm not left-handed. Every time I say this, people fucking roll their eyes. I'm cross-dominant, which is not ambidextrous. But basically, I will do like some things with my left, some things with my right. Now that sounds like, whoa, that's crazy, man. Like, I know, like, crazy. But, like, the point, like, okay. Like, my throwing arm is my right arm. My kicking leg is my right leg, right? Like, that kind of shit. If I was to punch someone, I'm using my right hand, right? Like, everything feels not, like, right if it's the right hand. But then, like, my precision hand, you know, my writing hand, my drawing hand, I don't know, like using a fork. I don't fucking know. Like that is my left. Now, it may not have been a great decision to use the mouse in my right hand, but like, you know, most mice are right-handed anyway. And I don't know. A mouse I always used in my right hand, like growing up, to be honest, when I was on like school computers and shit, so. I think Quinn might be left-handed. At least he like.
He used to be.
I know that. No, well, no one used to be.
I think what you were trying to say, like, I at least he used to be.
No. Okay, so like Crash and I know like we're left-handed or right with the left hand, whatever. Like maybe I think Crash is like a complete, you know, purebred left-handed gamer, right? But he still uses the Wii remote in his right hand. Quinn, on the other hand, I don't know if he's left-handed or right-handed. I would presume left. But he has the Wii remote in his left hand and the nunchuck in his right, which is just like
Crazy.
it's just weird, yeah. Apex has been horrid. Yeah, I've seen you've been less interested in Apex, Zach. So I figured maybe it was getting kind of shite.
I'm gonna keep playing for like 5 more minutes and I'm gonna stop, I think.
Understandable.
I'm pretty tired.
But yeah, on the topic of like, you know, playing other games, like, you know, even though I went and I did all that, and I the only games I committed to for a bit were like Fortnite and Osu. And Osu, I had that little Switch problem, and then Fortnite, I changed binds and shit too much. Like, that was a mess. Valorant, I'm enjoying quite a lot now. I'm even playing alone, which is absolutely unheard of. Even Fortnite, I didn't play on my own. So I don't know. Maybe I'll get into Valorant, and if I can commit to it for a long time, it would be cool to get super good at another game. Especially an FPS game, right? Because if I can get like good aim, right? Especially if I'm invested in the game enough to like practice my aim, like really grind aim trainers and shit. Like, you know, I could translate over to other games too, and that kind of unlocks a lot of games. So yeah, that'd be pretty epic, pretty nice. And yeah, Quinn's fucking left-handed Wii remote shit is whack. But yeah, let's see. I don't necessarily like. I don't even like want to go pro or anything. Okay, I understand that like that's a bit of a silly thing to even like mention, given that I've played the game for like 2 weeks. But like, whenever I like start playing a game, I'm kind of like I'm a dreamer, right? Like I'll play it and I'll think like, I'm gonna be the best fucking player to ever touch this game. And you know, don't really get very far on my little journey there, considering a lot of the time I quit quite quickly. But that's just how I am. Interestingly enough, with Valorant, it's been less of a I'm gonna be the best player and more of like a I'm just really enjoying this game and want to get better. Now, I would be lying if part of me didn't think ahead and be like, wow, it would be really cool to be like one of the highest ranked players, like. But like the idea of like being the best ever and going pro and all of that, like, I don't really, you know, I'm not really thinking about that. I just think it would, like, I don't know, I just want to get better at the game. I don't know. I'm being very optimistic. It's very like me to be optimistic in this way. So it's like, you know, maybe this is it, you know, maybe this is, you know, maybe this is the one, the right one this time. Maybe this is the one, maybe this is the game. Yeah, I'm trying to think up all these reasons that, like, could mean that, like, yeah, this is the one I'm going to stick to. I don't know. We'll see. If I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. Use space to edit in Fortnite? I mean, that is a bit weird, but, like, I can't hate. I think like the space bar is honestly, like, it's such a big fucking button, like why use it for jump? Like really? Like why use it for jump, man? Like, there are so many other buttons that could be something as fucking useless as jump. Yeah, I feel like left shift for jump is a good idea. Especially because in that game you were fucking, like, you have auto sprint. I think in Fortnite for a while, I used like my pickup button was on the scroll wheel. Like I think scroll wheel up was my button I used to pick up. And the reason why actually was because back when I had a G502, the brick mouse, at like the very beginning of my fucking Fortnite career, essentially like yeah, G502.
Pick up on scroll wheel just to play in Fortnite.
Yeah. Oh, the only thing is that with Fortnite, there were a lot of fucking things you could put on scroll wheel, like, because like I think like originally it was like yeah you put on infinite scroll wheel on the G502 and spin that shit right, and then you'll just get a ton of inputs, like, and like that was that was for the pickup right, and that's kind of what I had originally. It was scroll wheel down for pickup, but then what these fuckers did was added in like a bunny hopping right. So then you had to put like bunny hopping on the scroll wheel. But then people found fucking scroll wheel to reset edit. Yeah, and then yeah, exactly, Zach. So then you had to put that on because that was like the most important.
Yeah.
So then I ended up moving my scroll wheel up to pickup and my scroll wheel down to reset edit. And at that point, the bunny hopping had been removed. So I didn't use jumping on the scroll wheel in that game anymore.
Alright, last attempts. So you better round up your ramblers, Xander.
I mean, yeah. Fortunately, I ain't got much else to say about that.
It doesn't count.
Okay,
the first wall. That doesn't count.
How's it going? It's going great, but Bonnie is getting a little sleepy. And what's up? Well, I'm sure you just heard, but it is the end. Unfortunately, you guys arrived at quite a lucky time.
No, end on that. That's lame. This is the last one. This is actually the last one, no matter what.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Fortnite was so hype until they added mechs. Fortnite was so hype until they added, like, planes and mechs and ballers and fucking God knows what else.
Yeah, they just fucked that game up pretty fast. Oh well, I'm gonna go to bed. So good night. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening to Xander. And thank you, Xander, for carrying my stream.
No problem. The VOD will be saved.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're in here, the VOD will be saved.
Yeah. All my VODs save. So don't worry about that. All right. Good night.
Before you shut, I'm really sorry. I just want to say real quick because I have my keyboard plugged in. Yeah, the thing about like the planes or whatever on Fortnite, I hated them, but I do have a distinct memory of Fox and I playing like a fucking little cup thing, and we spent the entire game flying around in a plane until like the very end. That shit was fucking hilarious, dude. That shit was so funny. We were just losing our mind. But yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, alright. Now I end stream.
Bye-bye. Oh, Logan playing Moonview Highway. Let's go, Logan.
Yo, Barney, thank you. How's gv2?
Alright, I'm head out. So good night.
Alright, good night. Sleep well.
Yeah.